A man lies dead on the street. His crime: having the wrong political opinion. This week, another assassination rocked the headlines, not in some distant war zone, but right here in our so-called civilized world. Political violence is exploding globally. In the US, threats against politicians have increased 400% since 2016. In Europe, far-right attacks surge. In Latin America, political murders multiply. But here's what terrifies me most. We're not just killing bodies. We're murdering truth itself. When was the last time you changed your mind about politics? When did you last have a real conversation with someone who disagrees with you? Can't remember? You're not alone. We've created a world where being wrong feels like death, where admitting uncertainty is weakness. But what if I told you there's a philosopher who predicted this exact chaos 50 years ago? What if he also gave us the blueprint to escape it? What if the solution to our political nightmare isn't more laws, more censorship, or more violence, but something far more radical? What if the answer is simply learning how to talk again? Stay with me. This might save democracy itself. Picture this: two people looking at the exact same photograph but seeing completely different realities. Jürgen sees a peaceful protest. The other sees violent chaos. Same image, same moment, opposite truths. Welcome to the post-truth world, where facts have become optional accessories to our beliefs. How did we get here? How did we reach a point where the phrase, alternative facts, doesn't sound absurd anymore? The answer lies in a perfect storm that's been brewing for decades. First, we dismantled our shared sources of truth. Remember when families gathered around one television watching the same news? Now we have infinite channels, infinite websites, infinite versions of reality. We don't just choose our entertainment anymore. We choose our facts. Then came the algorithms, those invisible puppet masters that feed us exactly what we want to hear. They learned something terrifying. Anger keeps us scrolling longer than truth. Outrage generates more clicks than understanding. So they gave us what we craved: endless validation of our existing beliefs. But here's the most dangerous part. We started treating political disagreement like personal attack. When someone challenges our political view, our brain literally activates the same regions as physical threat. We're not debating ideas anymore. We're defending our identity, our tribe, our very existence. Think about your social media feed right now. When did you last see a post that genuinely challenged your worldview? When did you last share something that made you uncomfortable? We've built digital fortresses around our minds, and we're suffocating inside them. The result? Democracy is bleeding out. Because democracy isn't just about voting, it's about the space between votes. It's about citizens who can disagree without declaring war. It's about finding common ground in shared reality. But what happens when that shared reality disappears? What happens when we can't even agree on basic facts? What happens when dialogue becomes impossible? We get chaos, we get violence, we get the world we're living in right now. But there's hope, and it comes from an unlikely source. Meet Jürgen Habermas. You've probably never heard his name, but this 95-year-old German philosopher might just be the most important thinker you've never studied. And here's the shocking part. He predicted our current crisis with terrifying accuracy, 50 years before it happened. Born in 1929, Habermas lived through something that would shape his entire life's work. He watched his country descend into Nazi madness. He witnessed how propaganda could poison minds, how rational people could become monsters, how democracy could collapse when dialogue dies. But instead of becoming cynical, he became obsessed with a question. How do we build a society where this never happens again? How do we create genuine democracy, not just the illusion of it? While other philosophers debated abstract concepts, Habermas focused on something revolutionary: the simple act of conversation. He realized that democracy isn't really about institutions or laws. It's about our ability to talk to each other like rational human beings. Think about it. Every dictatorship in history started the same way, by destroying genuine dialogue, by making certain conversations impossible, by turning citizens into enemies who couldn't speak to each other. Habermas saw this pattern and developed something extraordinary, a blueprint for authentic communication. He called it communicative action, a way of talking that could heal societies, bridge divides, and restore democracy. But here's what makes him truly unique. He didn't just theorize about it. He lived it. Throughout his career, he engaged with his harshest critics, changed his mind when presented with better arguments, and demonstrated that intellectual humility isn't weakness, it's strength. If you're finding value in this exploration of how we can heal our broken dialogue, hit that like button and subscribe to Mind Revelation. Because understanding thinkers like Habermas isn't just academic exercise, it's survival training for democracy itself. Today, as we watch our world fracture along political lines, Habermas's insights feel prophetic. He warned us that when communication breaks down, society follows. He showed us that the antidote to political chaos isn't more force, it's better conversation. But what exactly did he discover? What's this revolutionary approach to dialogue that could save democracy itself? The answer will surprise you. What if I told you that the solution to our political chaos isn't found in new laws, better politicians, or smarter algorithms? What if the answer lies in something so simple, so fundamental, that we've completely forgotten how to do it? Habermas discovered something revolutionary. Most of what we call communication today isn't communication at all. It's manipulation, performance, or warfare disguised as conversation. Real communication, what he called communicative action, operates on completely different principles. Here's his breakthrough. For genuine dialogue to happen, 4 conditions must be met. First, sincerity. You must mean what you say, not just perform for an audience. Second, comprehensibility. Your words must actually make sense to the other person. Third, truth. You must be committed to factual accuracy, not just winning. Fourth, legitimacy. You must have the right to speak on this topic and respect others' right to respond. Sounds simple? It's not. Think about your last political argument on social media. Were you sincere, or were you performing for your followers? Were you trying to understand, or just to demolish? Were you seeking truth or just victory? Most of our political discourse fails all 4 conditions. We perform outrage for likes. We speak in tribal code words. We cherry-pick facts. We silence opposing voices. No wonder democracy is dying. We've forgotten how to practice it. But when these conditions are met, something magical happens. Habermas called it the force of the better argument. In genuine dialogue, the best idea wins, not the loudest voice, not the most popular position, not the most powerful speaker. The truth emerges through collective reasoning. This isn't just theory. We've seen it work. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa, the peaceful transition in Eastern Europe, the civil rights movement's most successful moments, all followed Habermasian principles, creating spaces where genuine dialogue could happen. But here's the radical part. This doesn't require perfect people or ideal conditions. It just requires commitment to the process. When we enter conversations seeking understanding rather than victory, when we admit uncertainty rather than claiming absolute knowledge, when we listen to change our minds rather than just waiting for our turn to speak, democracy begins to heal. The question isn't whether this works, the question is whether we're brave enough to try it. Okay, but how do you actually do this? How do you practice Habermasian dialogue when your uncle posts conspiracy theories, when your coworker rants about politics, when social media feels like a battlefield? Let me give you the practical toolkit that could change everything. First, master the art of the genuine question. Instead of saying, "You're wrong about immigration," try, "What experiences led you to that view?" Instead of, "That's ridiculous," ask, "Help me understand your reasoning." The questions disarm defensiveness. They create curiosity instead of conflict. Second, practice intellectual humility. Start conversations with phrases like, "I might be missing something, but," or "I'm still learning about this," and "This isn't weakness, it's strategic brilliance." When you admit uncertainty, others feel safe to do the same. Suddenly, you're exploring together instead of fighting. Third, separate the person from the position. Your neighbor isn't evil because they vote differently. They're a complex human being with different experiences, fears, and hopes. Attack ideas, never identities. Say, "I disagree with that policy," instead of "you people always." Fourth, Find the kernel of truth in opposing views. Even the most misguided argument usually contains some valid concern. An anti-immigration stance might hide legitimate economic anxiety. A pro-regulation position might reflect real safety concerns. Acknowledge what's valid before addressing what's problematic. Fifth, use the steel man technique instead of straw man. Don't attack the weakest version of their argument. Engage with the strongest. Say, the best version of your argument seems to be. This forces you to really understand their position and shows respect for their intelligence. But here's the most powerful technique: the strategic pause. When someone says something that triggers you, count to 3 before responding. Ask yourself, am I about to respond to what they actually said or to what I think they meant? Am I trying to understand or to win? This isn't about becoming a pushover or abandoning your principles. It's about becoming strategically effective. You'll be amazed how often people soften when they feel heard rather than attacked. The goal isn't to convert everyone to your worldview. It's to create spaces where genuine democracy can happen, where citizens can disagree without becoming enemies. But why is this so hard? Why do we resist rational dialogue even when we know it works better? Here's the uncomfortable truth. We don't want rational dialogue. We think we do, but our brains are wired for something else entirely. And until we understand this, we'll keep failing at democracy. Let's start with the brutal psychology. When someone challenges our political beliefs, our brain doesn't process it as intellectual disagreement. It processes it as existential threat. The amygdala fires. Stress hormones flood our system. We literally enter fight or flight mode. In that moment, we're not thinking, we're surviving. Why? Because our political beliefs aren't just opinions, they're identity. They tell us who we are, which tribe we belong to, whether we're good people or bad people. Challenge someone's politics and you're challenging their sense of self. No wonder they fight back like their life depends on it. Then there's confirmation bias on steroids. Our brains are prediction machines, constantly looking for patterns that confirm what we already believe. We don't seek truth, we seek validation. We don't want information that challenges us. We want information that comforts us. It's not malicious, it's human. But here's where it gets sinister. Powerful interests have learned to exploit these psychological weaknesses. Political parties discovered that angry voters donate more money and vote more reliably. Media companies realize that outrage generates more clicks than nuance. Social media platforms found that division keeps us scrolling longer than unity. There's literally a multi-billion-dollar industry built on keeping us polarized. Every time we engage in tribal warfare, someone profits. Every time we choose sides over solutions, the system wins and democracy loses. And then there's the social pressure. Try having a nuanced political conversation at a dinner party. Watch how quickly people get uncomfortable. We've created a culture where intellectual curiosity is seen as betrayal, where asking questions is viewed as weakness, where changing your mind is treated as flip-flopping. But perhaps the deepest obstacle is this. Rational dialogue requires admitting we might be wrong, and that's terrifying. It means our worldview might be incomplete. It means our tribe might not have all the answers. It means we might need to grow, change, evolve. Most people would rather be right than be effective. They'd rather win arguments than solve problems. They'd rather feel superior than be useful. If you're still here, still willing to question your own assumptions, still committed to genuine dialogue despite these obstacles, you're already part of the solution. You're choosing the harder path, the braver path, the path that actually leads somewhere. But this choice comes with responsibility, and that's what we need to talk about next. We've reached the moment of truth. You now understand what Habermas knew. Democracy isn't something that happens to us. It's something we create. Conversation by conversation, choice by choice, moment by moment. Right now, as you listen to these words, the world is choosing sides. People are retreating into their tribes, building higher walls, sharpening their weapons of words. The center is collapsing. The extremes are gaining ground. Violence is becoming normal. But you have a different choice. You can choose to be a bridge in a world of walls. You can choose dialogue in an age of monologue. You can choose understanding in a time of judgment. This isn't naive optimism. This is radical realism. Because here's what the chaos merchants don't want you to know. Most people are exhausted by the fighting. Most people are hungry for genuine connection. Most people want to solve problems, not just score points. You have the power to give them permission to be human again. Starting tomorrow, I challenge you to practice one Habermasian principle every day for the next 30 days. Ask one genuine question instead of making one accusation. Listen to understand one person you disagree with. Admit uncertainty about one issue you thought you had figured out. Find one kernel of truth in an opposing viewpoint. Watch what happens. Watch how people soften when they feel heard. Watch how curiosity disarms hostility. Watch how intellectual humility creates space for others to be humble too. You might not change the world in 30 days, but you'll change your corner of it. And that corner will touch other corners, and those corners will touch others. This is how democracy heals. Not through grand gestures, but through countless small acts of genuine dialogue. The future of democracy isn't in the hands of politicians or pundits. It's in your hands. It's in your next conversation. It's in your choice to seek understanding over victory, connection over conquest, truth over tribe. If this message resonates with you, if you're committed to being part of the solution, write the word dialogue in the comments below. Let's create a community of people who choose conversation over conflict. You've made it this far. You've proven you're serious about healing our broken world. Don't stop now. The conversation is just beginning. In a world choosing sides, dare to choose understanding. Democracy is counting on you.